We are live, sir. 5/12/2025, 9:35 p.m. Eastern. We are live.
Wow. Well, thank you, sir. Hello, everyone. This is Pop Culture Guy. I'm here to moderate this latest episode of Walking Dead Dead City, Episode 2 Live Recap Breakdown. Of course, I'm Andreas Diaz, aka Pop Culture Guy. Today, I'm with co-host Jeff, of course, MCU Bleeding Edge. How you doing, sir?
I'm here, sir. Check.
I mean,
reporting in for duty.
yeah, we're here today, guys. I mean, for you to talk about Dead City. Let's get cracking. I guess let's start just overall review of this episode. I mean, just like our opinion. Let me just go first very quickly. I like this episode. I thought this episode was better than episode one. I thought there was like more like, at least we're moving along with the plot, which is good. At least we got some decent action, which is cool. I mean, we'll get into it later in the episode, but it was really cool how the Korak, how do you say, took down the boat that they had the Liberty Foundation, whatever you want to call them. So we'll get to that. It's really cool scene, actually. That's like the highlight of the episode. But we still have silly moments, you know, like Ginny being Ginny as always, and just not talking as usual. And yeah, other stuff. But what you thought about, Jeff? What you thought about this episode too?
I mean, you would hope that like the second episode of a show would be better than the first episode. That's usually how it works. You know what I mean? So like, most of the other TV shows that we're covering right now, or that we've covered recently, like the second episode is usually an improvement from the first episode, So I don't give Dead City a lot of credit, just for like having a better episode of the second episode than the first episode. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a given to me, So like that should be something that they should be able to easily accomplish as a TV show. You know what I mean? Like they should be able to do that and make that happen. It shouldn't be a big deal, if you're gonna make it work for 8 episodes, then you should be able to deliver for episode 2. You know what I'm saying? So don't get me wrong, we've definitely come across like a shitty second episode here and there, from show to show. You know what I mean? Like it happens, I think Daredevil Born Again episode 2 was a little bit of a drop off, compared to episode 1. You know what I mean? There was at least a lot less action, in episode 2 than there was in episode 1, So as far as Dead City episode 2 goes, it was very watchable. Like the show is watchable. The characters, if you're a Walking Dead fan, the characters are, to bounce off of what I think direction you're trying to go in earlier, Andres. It's Negan, it's Maggie, you got Herschel Jr., there, you know what I'm saying, on the show, the spitting image of his father, you know what I'm saying, like in the flesh, and you got Ginny, unfortunately. They're trying to make her like an important part of the series this year, I think. I'm not sure. Episode 2 was okay. I mean, it had its like Dead City dumb shit moments, if you want to like, give it a name, Like Dead City just has every episode. It has like its list from remember that article I read last week?
Yes.
And the something guy was pointing out, there's this like stuff that Dead City does. You know what I mean? Like, as a show, where there's always going to be like every episode, there's always going to be stuff where you can be like, that was fucking stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like, or that was overacting. You know what I mean? Like, or that wasn't like believable. You know what I'm saying? Like, or whatever, like there's always moments like that in every episode, and episode 2 had those moments. It definitely did. It was not a foolproof episode of television. There was stuff that happened where even in like the critical stuff, that you mentioned, like the really action-packed moments of the episode, there was stuff where some of it I did not make sense to me at times. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, okay, but like didn't completely understand what was going on with some of it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They were setting those dead bodies on fire somehow, but yet they weren't even displaying that. They weren't even showing the bodies getting set on fire, but they were shooting them from the cannon and they were becoming on fire when they were hitting the ship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was kind of weird. Like how do you become on fire just from being shot from a cannon? You got to be put on fire.
Yeah. Well, I can't explain because like I think the show is showing how the Kovrak is very smart, which we know. Like he built this like the fumes.
Yeah, but did you see them light the people on fire? I didn't see them light them on fire.
That's not what they're doing. They gave the dead walkers, they were pumping them with helium, and then
that's right, they were pumping them full of shit. I remember that now. Yeah, they showed that one scene where they had the shit, the gas mask on the thing. Yeah,
on the thing. And then they were doing something on their face, which could be a chemical of a special thing to like even make the explosion.
That paint or whatever. Yeah, they probably did that as like a. They probably did that as a a source, like a lighting source. Like a spot.
Exactly.
That paint was probably like that, flammable. I bet.
Yeah, or like something that like the candles were made, like something like that, and so that made like the boat even more explosive with those type of chemicals. That was the thing, which that's impressive. Like if you don't know those stuff, like it is kind of confusing for like a like us general audience, but you pay attention, it actually makes a lot of sense. The
Kurak or whatever like explained it. Like he said like what was going on. You know what I mean? Like So I should have like made that connection. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't until you mentioned it. I was kind of lost a little bit there. So okay, so maybe that wasn't that much of a dump. That wasn't a dummy moment, but there were moments in the episode where like like there was some fake crying by Maggie at one point. That was kind of fake. You know what I mean? And like Negan's emotion when the guy with the violin got killed was kind of fake. You know what I mean? Like Negan wasn't close to that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like why the fuck would Negan care about that guy dying? You know what I'm saying?
I know it's so weird. I mean, I don't know. I like the guy, but it's like we only know him for just 2 episodes, so it's hard for me to like really care about that guy. But
hey, Chuck, you came late, brother.
Sorry, I'm late, gentlemen. Sorry, I'm late.
Oh, hello. Oh, hello everyone. We have a special guest, Chuck here. Hello, Chuck. By the way,
Chuck is from Just Another Friday Night Podcast.
Oh,
yeah, that's right. How you doing, Andres? How you doing, Jeff? Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it. Sorry again about the tardiness. I was actually just finishing the episode. Unfortunately,
yes.
I've got the YouTube TV with the commercials, so it said 50 minutes, and it was a little bit longer because of the commercials.
Oh well, we're glad you joined us, man. We don't care that you came on late. It doesn't matter. It's much better to have 3 people than it is to only have to just have 2. We make it work with just the 2 of us, but we really enjoy having other people on. So basically, I was just finishing up, upon being asked my thoughts on episode 2 overall of Dead City, and I was just basically wrapping up and just saying that overall, like I'll give the episode a better rating than I gave episode 1, and I feel like for what it's worth, episode 2 was certainly at the very least like an indication that the show has some potential this season in terms of like actually going somewhere or something, being more entertaining, I guess, if as an end goal, you know what I mean, or whatever their end goal is, for the season. It looks like they're trying to achieve that. You know what I mean?
No doubt. No doubt.
We weren't all that like blown away or like too happy with season 1 of Dead City. Andres and I didn't really like it that much, and I wonder if this show in general, like like a lot of other television shows in the past, may just not work because of the fact that it's anchored on two characters, Negan and Maggie, that just don't relate or connect well. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if it's because of the actors themselves or something like that, or like, that's a part of it. You know what I mean? Like, we would never know that. You know what I mean? Like, we have no way of knowing. There isn't as much dirt spilled, out from Hollywood anymore. Like it used to be. You know what I mean about stuff like that. You don't hear about as much of that kind of information getting out there. But they're just like with Rick and Michonne, the ones who live. Rick and Michonne work well together on camera. They're good together. They were good on The Walking Dead. They work well together on a show. When you split them apart from each other, they're good in an episode where you have like a dual storyline, plot type deal where the story is branched off into two people or whatever. They work well together doing that. Daryl and Carol do work well together doing that.
Very well.
But I just don't know that Rick and that Negan and Maggie really do have that sort of connection or whatever. Like I just don't know if that's there. So we'll see. I mean, I would never write off any TV show in season 2 at episode 2. I think there's still time, but I think that I think they're already planning on making a 3rd season of this show, regardless of what happens with season 2. Kind of like regardless of how it's received. I think that they'll automatically going to do season 3 because they need the content for AMC Plus.
Oh right,
for AMC. So like they still want to milk that Walking Dead IP. You know what I'm saying? Like as much as they can, they want to tap that for as long as they can. AMC because obviously they're making that clear. When you look at YouTube on YouTube TV, there's not only is there AMC, but there's also the Walking Dead Universe channel or whatever on there too. Where they just play Walking Dead all day long.
No doubt.
So like they have 2 channels of Walking Dead every fucking day. So that's all I got on that, and I'll open up the floor to Chuck.
Yeah, man. No doubt. I definitely agree with both you guys. On Just Another Friday Night, we covered Dead City season 1. We liked it, but I didn't like it as much as The Ones Who Live. I definitely didn't like it as much as what we've seen with the Daryl show. And I think a lot of it has to do with what you said, exactly there, Jeff, the chemistry. You're kind of like Maggie and Negan. How are you going to make these two work? Now, I love Negan. For my money, I would have wanted the show where what we saw in the Book of Carol, where she lands in Greenland and the 2 girls there want to breed with the guy, the pilot. If put Negan in that role, then I think you got a whole season worth of entertainment right there, where Negan goes whole hog, his old self. But I mean, definitely Negan has had this kind of arc where he's become redeemed, so to speak. I'm a Negan guy. I am Negan. I love Negan. I think he's a great character. His arc is interesting to me. But again, this Dead City thing and this group of what are they called? New Brunswick or whatever.
New Babylon.
New Babylon. I mean, they just suck. They're just scrubs. You know what I mean? And I think there's this kind of hunger for like the old Negan to come out. Obviously, we see him get presented with Lucille, which is, you kind of see him trying to fight against that. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of shows have been doing that, where they're trying to, you look at something like Daredevil Born Again, right? They're trying to get the character to tap into that nature that they once had. And I think Negan is trying very hard to fight against that. But, I think that we may eventually see that come out, and maybe that's what needs to happen. Your guys are totally right. I think that this second episode was better than the first, and maybe what we've seen so far is definitely better than season 1 already. Guys, remind me, what is the name of the lady in charge?
It's called Dam. That's her name.
Okay. Now
the Dama.
The Dama, whatever. Why is she in charge? Like, I don't ever understand when I'm watching a show like this. When we
they never explained that.
Yeah, when we saw the original Walking Dead, when we got to the Negan episodes, we knew why Negan was in charge, right? I just feel like, why doesn't he grab Lucille? They're obviously the bad guys, bash in her brains, bash in the Croats' brains. And, I mean, hey, rather him in charge than these two, sadistic people. So I don't know. Can we cuss on here, guys? I don't know if we can cuss or not.
Yeah, we can curse.
Okay,
yeah,
these two sadistic fucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's my thoughts on it. So I don't know, Andres, if you already had your say, but I'd love to hear it.
Oh yeah,
I've spoken marijuana, so I hope we can swear.
Okay, good. I'm having a cold brew, so
yeah. I'm the only person that is drinking just like healthy water and just cough drops. Anyway,
Andres, why do you buy that expensive water?
I don't. Well, trying to be healthy. My mom said to drink a big tap water, so I can drink 8 times a day.
That smart water shit is so expensive. It's just regular water.
I know that. Well, I mean, I usually use my tap water to fill this up with other water bottles. But anyway, that's not the.
You know what it is, Jeff. The fancy bottle makes you want to drink it more. Cause that's how I feel when I get a nice bottle. I'm like, dang, I want to drink this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I don't like water.
Well, just pretend it's soda. Pretend this is like a big Fanta. It's like, whoa, look at the orange soda.
I drink. All I'm gonna say is that I drink more actual alcohol in my weekly,
really?
hydration or whatever than I do water. I can tell you that right now.
Wow.
Hey man, save water, drink beer is what I always say. I
mean, I drink a lot of coffee. There's a lot of water in coffee, so I guess there's got to be some hydration value in that.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. That's awesome. So yeah, I let me just wrap up, our initial thoughts here. I like this episode as better than episode 1. There's potential for this season to be better than first season. We like the beginning of first season, but the last half was really rough. And Chuck, you brought up a really good point about the villain here. So far the new spin-offs have done a really good job of giving us really great villains. I mean, no matter the execution. I mean, Daryl Dixon had a really great villain with that French soldier lady. She was very menacing, and and of course the twists with the cult people that they were with, they were great villains. And then of course the ones who live really have a great villain there. I mean, the guy was from Lost, and he was a great villain here because we understood their motivation and all that, in very Walking Dead fashion. We understand that. So they were top tier villains, up to the governor, the Whispers, and Negan himself. And I don't know, I don't understand. I get she's trying to protect
the villain in Daryl season 2 was kind of weak too.
Well, yeah, I mean, because I feel like the show wanted to have Carol there, so they were wrapping up the whole French storyline, which makes sense. You want to move on and be focused on Carol and Daryl. I understood that part, but still, they were still effective villains. I mean, we got super enhanced soldier walkers. That was cool. That's the thing about this show is we're getting Walking Dead stuff. Jeff, we brought it before. They're trying to be just the traditional Walking Dead show, right? But here's the thing: it's you need to add something new and have some interesting side characters, as you were saying before. And this show just isn't delivering on that. There's one character I like, but it's not Daryl Dixon or the ones who live like that. I don't know. I feel like everything about the show is very weak. We don't understand the character's motivation. Everything is very flimsy. Also, the premise, at least Daryl Dixon is trying to, it's almost like The Last of Us. He's trying to protect a kid. Okay, I get that. The Ones Who Live is almost like a love story, but in a zombie apocalypse where we're seeing, Rick and Michonne renewing each other. That's such a powerful storyline, right? Because we love those two characters. We want them back. And also, seeing Rick and Michonne be back with the children, Judith and the son that Michonne got. Here is okay, we're in New York City. That's cool. But at the same time, it's why want to why we want to see two faction groups to go against the cities? It's not interesting, it's just this typical zombie apocalypse crap that we see before, and it's not interesting. So that's my main problem right now with the show. And the villain is just we had great female villains before, but it's just she just isn't cutting it, and you know, it's just frustrating. And I agree with you, Chuck. Why is Negan not doing the like Negan like instead of him, like what they should do is like Kingpin. He's doing the stuff behind the scenes where he's really becoming Negan, but for different reasons. He's doing it because he's trying to protect Herschel, you know, Judah,
right.
And like that makes sense. But like he's not doing anything proactive, and that's the thing that's frustrating me. He's being like, what's the word? Be enabled by the villains, and it's like, why are you letting them like do that to you, dude? It's like I don't get that.
No, totally agree, man. It's kind of like let the beast out, bro. Let's get it.
Exactly. You know, like come on, like the Korak literally ratted you out to the lady, and it's like I don't know. We'll get, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Just I was gonna just say you're right to speak to what you're saying. I was starting with episode 2, and immediately it did the good thing that Walking Dead does, where it lets you meet a new character and you like them. It develops some shows struggle with this, right? Like bringing in someone new and making them likable. But the violin guy, right away, I'm like, oh, okay, I like this guy. You know, this guy's gonna maybe become Negan's number 2 or whatever. And then obviously we see what happens with him, and I was like, what the shit? Like, what a jip, you know? I mean, Herschel seems kind of like, bitchy in this one, you know what I mean? He's trying to find himself. The girl that was with Negan, is it Mary? Is her name Mary?
Jeannie.
Jeannie. Yeah, she's great. I mean, she's obviously showing like Carol vibes, going to end up being strong. That's great. You know what I mean? But, again,
man, Jeannie sucks, bro.
No, you're not a fan?
No, we're not a fan. I can see where you're coming from, Chuck. You know, I mean, at least she's doing something proactive. But yeah,
right. She's not being freaking out like Herschel was on the boat. Like I'm like, dude, come on, bro, get it together. Like there's bombs and zombies happening right now, and zombie bombs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not doing enough to let Maggie and Negan like stand out, on their own show at times. You know what I'm saying? It seems like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like you're not seeing they're not doing enough with Negan's character, I don't think, you know what I'm saying, to like make it interesting. Like it could be, you should be kind of, what you'd expect. We haven't mentioned at all the location either. The fact that they're doing this one in New York City. When we first came into this show with season 1, I thought this is gonna work. They're doing it in New York City, that's a great location, you know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna do lots of interesting zombie shit with it, I bet, right? That's all tailored to New York City, and how the whole zombie apocalypse would occur there, you know what I mean, compared to Georgia, and
totally.
But they haven't really taken advantage of the city the way they could have, and when they have tried to take advantage of it, it's actually worked out pretty well for the show. Like when Maggie fought that sewer monster in season 1, that was good.
That was good. No, I agree. Yeah.
No doubt, and not to go back, but what I said too about I kind of tell people now that used to love The Walking Dead, but then stop loving it. I tell them if you want to watch something that's like what The Walking Dead used to be, check out The Last of Us. And we just got that great subway scene right in the couple episodes back in The Last of Us, and it's kind of like, damn, you're in New York. You could be giving us lots of great subway scenes. Like we've yet, you're right, Jeff. We've yet to see the city. Like the city is, when you use New York is like a character, right? It's like Gotham, Metropolis, New York, you know what I mean? Chicago, Pittsburgh. These are going to be like their own character. If you're not using that to your advantage, then why are you even there? Like, why do we care that you're in New York just because it's New York? Like that isn't, you know what I mean? You've got to be like, there should be some stuff in high rises and fire escapes and, things to that nature. We're not getting into that.
Chuck, when you take away the electricity and stuff like that, that it does affect the look of the city, a lot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
no doubt.
I don't know. See, I agree with what you're saying, Jeff, but I also disagree because they were destined to put their city in Paris, and that worked. And Paris is a very gorgeous location with lights, but it looked great in the zombie apocalypse. So I just think it's more in general they're not taking advantage of the setting, and the fact that Chuck brought up the trace stations, I was like, oh yes, because Last of Us did that in episode 4 that we just that we saw last week, and it's just crazy that you got the two other shows and another show that's not related, like is doing more better with the like using the zombies in different locations. I don't know, that's crazy. Yeah. Any more thoughts before I do the recap sections of the episodes before we head out? So let's do the beginning. I
was just gonna say that it's interesting how they basically made it seem like they have complete parity, like almost with the walkers now, with the dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're not even really afraid of them anymore. Like they kind of just it's almost an expectation that they're automatically going to be able to, defend themselves against them and kill them. You know what I mean? Whatever they want. It's interesting that they have that going this season. I thought in season 1 they were trying to make it like toward the walkers were still scary.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of agreed. I don't know. That is weird. Like, yeah, because like the ones who live, like their zombies were still were terrifying. Like I mean, and then and then Daryl, they took it even to the next level where we're having super enhanced walkers, which is cool. They like if you like cut them, they have like freaking acid blood.
Yeah, acid zombies. Very cool.
And of course, I know. I'm sorry we're bringing up The Last of Us, but like even that, like they have these like really cool concept about like these like different stages of the affected. Of course, you got one that's like the runners, like typical like 28 days later level, like fast zombies, and then you got these other ones where they're more mutated. So it's kind of
Or even in the finale, right? The Walking Dead proper when it ended, we kind of got this introduction of like the door opening zombies, right? And like the climbing zombies. But since it was ending, I was like, well, are we ever going to capitalize on that? Maybe we would see it in the other shows, but yet we still kind of haven't seen that. Like I kind of hate when the zombies are like an afterthought. It's like that should be like always like a looming threat, you know what I mean? And especially if they're kind of maybe evolving. So I would definitely want to see more of that. And with the main Walking Dead ending, it was kind of like, well, these are your opportunity to show us what's next with those zombies.
Yeah. It has to be like another spinoff where they can maybe pick that up. Or maybe Daryl will probably pick that up because technically that show has done like more of like using the walkers and like trying to experiment them, which is something, I really applaud for that show because at least we're getting interesting stuff with the walkers. And so let's get into the episode, right? Let's discuss this in depth. And so we open up with like Negan again in the opening cell where we meet the character Victor. I almost forgot who was the character that where Negan became friends with. So Victor, stops by. He's the guy that plays the violin, as we saw from last week's episode. Good kid. I kind of like the character. He has a really good rapport with Negan. And Negan. So this is what I mean. Negan not being proactive. Like he's like sad, very quiet. He's like very moody, like very like Ben Affleck, or like he's just not having a good time. And I don't know if that's in real life. That maybe like the actor Thomas,
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Jeffrey D. Morgan, thank you. I don't know why I forgot it. Like, I know this guy. I mean, he was in Batman v Superman. He's the comedian, for God's sake. Jeffrey D. Morgan, great actor, but it seems like he's so tired of playing this character. And I don't blame him. I mean, he spent so many years playing this character, and he wants to move on. Whatever. I don't know. Like, so he's just there, and not being proactive. And Victor sits with him. He plays like the violin, like bringing in like peace to Negan, which I kind of like. I like how like using the classical music is kind of like bringing back Negan a little bit to like a sense of hope, and I can understand that because he's there trying to protect Herschel Jr. and like Maggie from these people, and I mean because he's been locked up like a few months from last week or whatever, however long he's been in prison.
He was supposed to be in prison for like 6 months. He was like in prison or something like that. It's like a long time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's eating cockroaches, people. I mean, like, eating like that's. I mean, hey, he and I don't know, Chuck. You discussed this, but it's funny. Like, me and Jeff, we were joking from last week. Like, despite he's been locked up and eating, crappy food, he still looks good. I mean, he's in good shape, which is weird.
Maybe he's working out, man. He's doing the push-ups, the prison workout,
Yeah, maybe true. Like he's doing like half of what Daredevil or like Kingpin was doing, like staying exercise, but like really just being himself. So we get this cool conversation about how he was trained to be a violin and discovered like he had like a really bad father who was like very bastard like, and he just found like comfort of playing music because that was the only way for him to escape from the horrors from this like really bad parenting. So really good character development. For because like I fortunately for me, I don't know if you guys rewatched the episode. I rewatched this episode the second time because there was a moment when I can't believe they did this. Speaking of stupid moments, we'll get into, but I thought this was a good sequence and it did lay like really good stuff to care about this character because I think Negan did care about this guy and like at least like I can understand why he was frustrated because there is an instant conversation of losing like a piece of like stuff that we don't have anymore in the zombie apocalypse, and if you get rid of it, it's gonna be a stink because you don't know who has this talent and all that. That's something we don't think about. Like when if we don't have a functional society, we are gonna lose like oil and stuff like that if we don't continue what we're doing. So it's one of those things, to keep on those traditions and stuff like that. So I think this opening, I think was the best for this episode. And, but we'll get into the big like highlight that I like. So then after that, meanwhile, we got, was it Charlie? Was it Charlie? Let me say Charlie is taking the other New Babylon Foundation person that's like the second command of the governor of the New Babylon, and she like takes her troops on how to advance on New York City. It's only supposed to be like a explorers mission, but the major Lucia doesn't like it, and when Maggie tries to listen in, Colonel Armstrong goes to Megan, who is upset by their plan to show up on a ferry because she knows that the Karak will easily see them if they do that, which we eventually did happen later in the episode. And then of course Armstrong is willing to help to get the plan changed, but he needs more from Maggie than a hunch. So let me stop there. Chuck, you're the guest here. Let me go first for you. What do you thought about that beginning opener up to the New Babylon stuff?
Again, it's not, to me, it's not bad writing and it's not a terrible episode. It's just, if we're meant to feel that these New Babylon folks are incompetent, well done, because I'm just like, it's a classic Walking Dead trope now where anyone that's a member of, has been a member of Rick's group or even Negan is going to be vastly more intelligent and knowledgeable, and have more, like ground combat tactical knowledge than whoever the hell they're grouped up with, because these people look like I don't know how they've been surviving. Like, I'm just like, you guys are idiots. Like, listen to Maggie, obviously she knows what's up. He's telling her, the colonel guy, he's telling them, hey, she got her kid out of New York alone, single-handedly. Meanwhile, he's spreading his own lies about getting rid of Negan and all this, right, trying to build himself up. There's always like these political agendas that to me don't really make a lot of sense. I'm like, what's your to what end? I mean, like, survival should be the end game here. Like, if you guys are there and you're surviving, great. I mean, I understand he wants the I forget what the fuel is that they're using in New York. Is it methane gas? Is it methane?
Yeah, methane. Yeah, that's the name of it.
Right. I get that, but I'm like, you're gonna take people, you're drafting people, so that means they don't want to fight. That means they could easily break ranks. You're going to take them into this hostile territory and potentially get yourself and others killed. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like, the Walking Dead world to me is about like survival. I miss the days of them kind of showing new and creative ways to kind of survive and make do. You know what I mean? And I'm invested in the Negan character. You know what I mean? But like these other characters, like they're just they're just stupid. Like, I'm ready for them to die. You know what I mean? I'm automatically ready for them to die. I was excited when I'm not sure you're going to get to it on this, but the third act of the episode when they start to get taken to task, which was what they deserved because they weren't competent for that approach on New York and the Croat.
Yeah, No, I agree 100%. Like you brought up the Mayfin. I was like I get it, but like you have other resources to build electricity and stuff, right? Like you don't need the methane. And like why you want the city? It's like it's so big. It's like, and speaking of, we'll get into like we saw from last episode. There's other fractions in New York City that they have like connection with. So like why you want to take the risk?
Exactly. It's crazy. Like if you're surviving and you're thriving, man, like dude, don't break ranks and go into a hostile territory. That's just nuts to me. Hey, can I ask you guys a question real quick on your thoughts?
Yeah.
I've asked this on my show too, but it's like a Walking Dead question, right? So like in the world of the Walking Dead, like okay, so like if there's nothing but like I would imagine after so long, like the walkers have like eaten most of the people, right? So like walkers probably outnumber people by now, especially in a city like New York, right? So when there's no more people to eat, like will the zombies eat each other?
That's a good question.
They've never showed that I know of.
And I'm also wondering too, like they're they're called the Walking Dead, right? They're zombies, right? They're literally rotting. Like after so many years, won't they eventually just like rot all away? Like their innards will fall out and the flesh will. So I think
they're getting there. I think they're there, Chuck. I think they're a lot of them are getting that state now. I think that's what they're showing.
Skeletal and I feel like we should be getting like to kind of almost like a level where it levels off with like a lot of the walkers have rotted out and there's not a huge populace of them anymore. And obviously people would be, dramatically reduced as well. And also I was thinking about vultures, right? Vultures and other animals that eat dead animals, that eat carrion, right? Like, wouldn't they just be like feasting, like buffet? Like you're going to have these fat ass vultures, like, taking giant shits on abandoned cars because they've been feasting on all the rotted flesh that's just abundant everywhere. You know what I mean? And I'm just thinking of them, but I think like other animals that eat like dead carcasses is like coyotes and stuff like that. Like, I mean, are they we don't really ever see animals that much in The Walking Dead, but I'm curious about where they are,
Yeah.
I would have to assume that like in like the post-apocalyptic in the US, like walkers would actually be like prey to some animals. You know what I'm saying? Like they would attack them and shit like that to eat them.
That's some good eats right there. Good walker meat.
Yeah. I mean, it's always the unfortunate answer is like turn to disbelief, really, because when you start questioning like the resources like of the meat and the food, it's kind of like just the necessary story that we have the walkers here and they are still living. They still have meat here.
It's like the nuts and bolts of the stuff they don't have to show us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. They just have to. Yeah, it's not like other zombie. Yeah, it's not like I mean, with The Walking Dead, we never really got an explanation. Well, not an explanation how the apocalypse started. It's not like the George Romero where like it's just more of like a supernatural thing, like the dead rises. Where here it was either a plague or some like government thing, like constant the outbreak. So, it's just you have to turn this really. I understand where you're coming from, especially New York. It's like, I mean, how you survive like that is like I don't know. For like those creatures, it's not like The Last of Us where I can understand like they're mutate into this and like there's like an endpoint. Like that's the I appreciate about The Last of Us, where it's like okay, like at least there's an endpoint to those creatures, but The Walking Dead is like
I just feel like we should be getting like a leveling off point, maybe like plateau almost with like zombie human ratio, but I don't know, you know what I mean? Just those are just my random Walking Dead musings that go on in my head.
No, I'm so happy you brought that up because I always question that.
We understand, Chuck. We understand. When you cover the Walking Dead spinoff stuff, you can't help but have random questions and thoughts and discussion points, that revolve around the original show, for instance, right? Like it's a constant throwback. You know what I mean? Like when you cover Daryl Dixon and Dead City and Ones Who Live, you end up having conversations about the original show. Like last week we were talking about like what characters that got killed off Walking Dead like actually like went out and did something and and like were in something after the show. You know what I mean? Like one person that we didn't talk about was Stephen Yeun. Like,
yeah,
I thought he was one guy. I really thought he would take off when he got away from The Walking Dead. I really did, but he hasn't really taken off. You know, but he has some stuff coming out though. I know he does. I know he has some stuff coming out.
Yeah, I will vouch for that. He has done bigger things. It's just not the ones we haven't really covered yet. If you're a big fan of Jordan Peele, he was in Nope, great film. I really like it. Not the best work for Jordan Peele, but it's a really good, fun horror flick. Really great film. Highly recommend that. He's in Beef, the first season, a great Netflix show. I heard. Check it out. That's the people that did Thunderbolts. If you want,
yeah, I know. I heard about that.
Yeah, and obviously, he was supposed to be Sentry before he had to unfortunately drop out because of the strike that happened in 2023. But he's doing other great things. He's an Oscar nominee person, actually. He's an Oscar nominee because of the movie Minori came out in 2020 during the pandemic.
Yeah,
great film. So he's done a lot of great things. It's just he hasn't done those like big blockbuster things like Michonne. She's in the Black Panther movie.
He got nominated. He got nominated for an Oscar.
Yes.
Yeah.
For best actor. Yeah. So he's done. Yeah.
And I mean, I know it's not live action, but Invincible, man. I mean, he's just crushing it. I mean,
he's
Invincible is some of the best stuff on TV, man. I mean, that, and I don't think you get there without Stephen Yeun doing that great voice and making Mark Grayson like this totally endearing character. You know what I mean? So, and I get what you mean though, Jeff. Totally, it's like should definitely be some more live action stuff. But I say give it a few years, we're definitely going to see Stephen Yeun in a Marvel movie or DC. Yeah.
Yeah, DC. Yeah, that's a good point. I totally forgot he did voice the Visible. I was like, oh yeah, and guess what? Another Robert Kirkman stuff. Jeff, what are your thoughts about this opening of Negan talking to the
It's just okay,
okay.
Like to bounce off of Chuck, I guess. The writing's not bad. Like it's not great, but it's not bad. And that's not the problem with the show. I don't think the writing is really the big issue. Although I think probably whenever you like your thoughts about a show are that you think some, like a full season is kind of subpar or something like that. I guess you always have to go to the writing a little bit. But the stuff with Negan and the Dama and the Kurak is okay. It works. It's watchable. It's like any show, you have to have secondary characters that come in and die, the violent guy. You have to have people like that come in and only last for an episode or two arc. And then they're gone, right? Unfortunately, but we've seen that throughout the course of The Walking Dead quite a bit. So yeah, the circumstances with Maggie and her squad and kind of her voicing to the guy, the sheriff guy, the lieutenant or whatever, Negan's forces or the Kurak's forces or whatever, are gonna be prepared for us, you know what I mean? They've had quite a while to get ready, and maybe this boat deal isn't a good idea, obviously they should listen to her, that's how it plays out, but we don't know that, initially. But we kind of figure, something's gonna happen, you know what I'm saying? Based off that, you know what I mean? How that goes down, the stuff with New Babylon is kind of weak, it's weak sauce a little bit, you know what I'm saying? I don't really identify or connect with any of the major New Babylon people, none of them are really I like the guy from season 1, the lieutenant guy, that guy, he's all right, but the rest of them I could care less, you know what I'm saying? They can all die, they probably all did die anyway, who knows? I can't remember how many of them survived the boat or whatever. I think one of them did. The one bitch that Maggie punched in the face, she survived. She's a cunt anyway. Yeah. So yeah, I guess the opening of the episode is just okay. It's nothing spectacular, nothing to really rave about. Again, we don't really know why the Dama is in charge. We don't really get that. All we get is her waxing philosophical about art and like history and shit like that, and spouting off, you know what I mean? Like, like in the episode. So what that's supposed to accomplish, I have no idea, but we get some of that. Quite a bit of that actually. Her just like talking about like, historical characters and shit like that, But just quite a bit of that in the opening. But that's pretty much it, Andres. That's all I got, sir, on that.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it's always that typical thing with the villains. It's like they always do like this like comparison to the historic like dictators and all that, which is so like story 101 thing. Which is, it could be good, but like when the way she does it is kind of like, okay, what you're doing here, because and yeah, I agree about the New Babylon stuff. It's just really crap, and we'll get into it, but like, I can't believe this show, like, when we make it, a death of a major character is like, should be a big deal. Like Daryl Dixon did that. Like when we had characters die in the first season, it was a big deal to check. I mean, like Preacher Man got his like horrible death, but like he's like, let my birds go, and like, yeah, it was like, it was goofy, but it was like, like heartwarming. I was like, come on, he didn't have to die. He was trying to protect his pigeons. Here it was like the spoils. I'm just gonna spoil it, but like the leader that is the New Babylon, she just like if you haven't seen Thunderbolts, she had the Taskmaster treatment of like, we don't care about her, we just want her to die, and it's like her death was like off screen, which was like that's what I mean. I had to rewatch this episode. I was like, wait a minute, did we kill her during the book siege? And I was like, yes, and it's like we'll get into it. It was like, oh my god, so like stupid and bad. I was like, but I mean, I understand. Like, I mean, the character was not good. I didn't like her from the season. So, getting back to the recap, right? Like, so after this, Negan goes with the Correct to see the dam, and this is a very good scene, like where of course, they get information from like during I think the scene, right? Like, I think can't speak to just let me stop right there. Like, so Correct got intel that the New Babylon army are coming in, as they learn from the episode 1. He now knows that they're going into the ferries, right? So she, so they know that there's only one group they will attack in the ferry. So they may ask Negan to like, what's the attack plan for this? Because the whole point of her plan, it's an interesting one. I just wish we had more of it. She's using Negan as the face of this rebellion against the New Babylon. That's a cool idea. Using someone that's well known in a universe who is like this top dog, like that's a good idea to like have a face, because let's be honest, and it's real life. It's like you cannot take a serious leader as female. So if you have someone that's well known and really like has a reputation like Negan has, that makes sense, because he can easily rally everyone. And of course, if you don't go along, guess what? Dead. And so I kind of liked her plan. Like, at least that makes sense, like what she's trying to do. So this is where it's interesting. So like Negan is going along with the plan. So, and that's the one thing I like with this episode. Seeing like the old Negan kind of like coming out, like almost like Kingpin from Barton, as you were saying, Chuck. And here he kind of like talks about it. It's like, okay, he gets I say like talks about it, like we need more with like a 4th of July show to really scare everyone from both sides. And so we don't know what he means, but like, so it's going to be something that we need to like show like a message to everyone that we mean business. This is our city, you cannot come here. And so we will see what to do. And meanwhile, at the camp, this is what I mean, like, as Jeff said before, I mean, Janine was not our favorite character last season. I mean, she was okay until that like twist of her, like she actually can speak. I guess she was trauma. Like I get that people do not speak after they say something horrible. I some shows done that well, but like this was kind of weird. I was like, okay, and now she's like reverted back to not talking, and Maggie is trying to be nice to her and told her she's there to like support her, but at the same time Maggie sees a black smoke in the distance, and she checks it out, finding a small tire fire from the coal rack. So we get discovery that this is how the coal rack gets the message of what's going on over the outside of New York. So Maggie knows this, and so she's now worried. But at the same time, now adding more pressure to her. Now she's with Ginny. Herschel Jr. appears, and he follow behind the horseback, and he tells her, her mom that, look, you basically got kidnapped, which is kind of true. Like, they were like literally forced to be this in this army, and then Maggie kind of like does the mother thing of like telling her, like, why did you kill me? Like, I'm trying to protect you, and so I'm doing this for you, and then the kid is kind of like, it's almost like when you were like a little kid, when you did something wrong or like you didn't listen, that's usually happens with kids, right? You like get really upset and mad. It's like, I tried to be, and that's what happened to him. Totally. And who is like Herschel, you're like a teenager. Like, you should have commonplace. He was like, I was just shocked. Like, he took it so hard. As a kid.
I get it though. I feel like Maggie is kind of like his whole world. You know what I mean? And all these parents in The Walking Dead, all they're ever doing is like trying to keep their kids safe, But they got to realize that, like, man, if you're all the family I have in this like world of monsters, like, I'm going to do everything I can to, I want to be with you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be like, it always bothered me, like in the original Walking Dead, that Michonne leaves Judith and RJ to go look for Rick. I'm like, you leave your kids? I mean, like, anything could happen. And it's not like Daryl stuck around. It'd be one thing if she knew that Judith and RJ were with Daryl. I mean, even then, it's still crazy in that world to just leave on essentially on a hunch. But, that always bothered me. It was like, I mean, I get it. You believe that Rick's alive, and turns out, of course, obviously she's right. And, they get to reunite, which is great. But I'm like, wouldn't you think the safest place in the world for your kid is with you? Like, I don't trust anybody else to watch after them the way I am, because anything could happen. I mean, like we said, by the end of the original Walking Dead show, it's like, well, I mean, Daryl's still there, you know what I mean? But I mean, this guy's always getting in scraps. Like, anything could have happened to him. He's like one of the best fighters. They're going to always put Daryl out in front. You know what I mean? He's a more of an asset to you as a fighter than he is as a caretaker. So while, he's going to protect Judith and RJ with everything he has, he's also needed to like defend the city or wherever they are,
Yeah, I know. But then of course they explained that, like, Daryl wanted to search Rick, so it made a lot of sense. But I mean, there's also other characters from the ritual they had taken care of Judith. I mean, like the priest that was it Gabe, or from the Gabriel, he's still there, and then there's some couple ones that are still there, so that makes sense. But with this, it's like okay, you're with a different group that, like, you're not from the original, so I can understand the kid going out there. But before they kind of resolve this, like, this drama, this situation now that Maggie's in, they get like caught by the New Babylon, which was kind of stupid. The New Babylon like thought that, like, what's going on here, and of course they got taken by. So let me stop there. Jeff, what you thought about the whole Negan talking to the car rack and forming a plan to attack the boat, and then pretty much stopping at the Maggie discovering the signal that's detecting the car wreck about the ferry. Go ahead, and Herschel coming in.
Yeah, I mean, Herschel's whatever, like, as a character, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's still really young and everything, so he's kind of whatever, the whole deal with Negan and the Kurak and everything, like, and the Dama planning out, like, the defense of, against the New Babylon people and the boat and all that. Like, it was interesting, it's like, well, again, it's very watchable television, but nothing spectacular, nothing all that, super exciting, there's no action. So it's just, it's all schematics essentially, I mean, you got Ginny, hanging out again. She's around in the episode, doing her thing. So I mean, like her or hate her, she's there. And the stuff with Negan and the Kurak, it's like, nothing like all that like shocking that Negan would have like better thoughts, just like Maggie does, like better like strategic planning, like moves or whatever than like other people would have. You know what I mean? Like like they're like veterans of like the apocalypse. The apocalypse. You know what I'm saying? Like so like of course like they're gonna have that going on. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. I mean, of course, they're talent, like, especially with, I'm gonna get to you, Chuck, but just quickly, like when we get into the other scene, it was so stupid because I'm like, anyway, Chuck, go ahead. What do you thought about this section of like Negan forming the plan attack on the ferry boat and pretty much ending on Herschel arriving to like be with the mom and all that? Go ahead.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, obviously, again, you have the Croat who brings Negan in, and it's almost like, I guess, a risk to bring in someone like Negan when it's like he's very well aware of what he's capable of when he's properly motivated, and which I don't think that Negan quite is yet, but he could, I think, easily get there. But yeah, I mean, obviously, they have this plan. They're going to kind of stop them. And, Negan right away is like, that's all right. You know what I mean? But why go half-assed when you could, really let them know who you are, which is a very Negan thing to do. So that's very cool. And that was a great plan. And they, had those, it was just better devised, better thought out than what they were originally going to do. So I think at that point, the Croat, the Dama, they kind of see like, okay, maybe we're getting him, like getting the guy that we wanted here, the legend, coming to life. But at the same time, I mean, it's kind of like, playing with fire. It's like an old Rottweiler that might be old and doesn't really, move around that much anymore, but you keep poking it or keep kicking it. I mean, eventually it's going to bite, so, I mean, I'm waiting to see that from Negan. As far as Herschel going, it's kind of like I said earlier, and I didn't mean to interrupt onto this when you were kind of giving the synopsis. But I mean Herschel. I mean, again, I just can't get over how these parents just like always are leaving their kids behind. I mean, it's like the closest person you have in the world. Yeah, you're doing everything to keep them safe, but what world is Herschel going to grow up in without Maggie? I mean, like he needs his mother to protect him. I mean, like she's been going through all this all the time, and she's a badass. So it's like, if I'm Herschel and that's some of the times the things that do bother me about the writing is that like I want like the kids to like speak up, like I'd be like, look, don't you think the safest place for me in the world is with you? You know what I mean? Like, Mom, you're a badass. You know what I mean? Like, I feel safest with you. You know what I mean? Like, don't leave me behind. You know what I mean? Like, like whenever we want to get away from this dumbass mission, like, let's find a way to do that. We know that she can. You know what I mean? But again, she's trying to, do the right thing and help them out and guide them that they're doing the wrong thing, these New Babylon idiots, so then there's that. And then is it Jeannie?
Yeah, that's
Ginny.
her name. Ginny. Yeah, Ginny.
She again, like you guys said, she kind of goes back to not talking. We find out she can talk last season. She goes back to not talking, and I'm like, here's a character I feel like could be maybe more rich if she would speak up. I would just be like, like call Maggie a fucking bitch or something, you know what I mean? And like move on, let yourself develop, you know what I mean? It's like she seems like, again, like there's a little bit hints of maybe more to come from her, you know what I mean? But you've got the scene too, like there's so many things that could be different. You've got the scene later on, and I know you're going to get to it on this, but where she's looking over and seeing Herschel and Maggie hugging, and she's thinking to herself probably like, man, all I ever had was Negan, and I don't even have that. Again, another kind of parent figure that left her behind because it was what was safe for her, but if I'm writing that scene, I tell Maggie, I have Laura Cohen write it in where she's hugging, I was going to say Glenn Jr. She's hugging Herschel, and she looks over at her and she tells her to come here, or maybe they're sitting closer. She kind of grabs her and like embraces them both in a hug. Like, doesn't that make her a better character? Like, it's just like, because for a long time, Maggie has gotten on my nerves. I mean, like I like her in this show, but man, when she was in charge of the, what was the place on the hill? Was it called the Hill?
The Hilltop.
The Hilltop. man, she was really, I was like, this chick needs to get fired because she's like just on my last nerve with how she was running that place. But in this, a little bit more endearing, you know what I mean? I'm more endeared to Maggie in this show, but again, it's because the incompetence of the people around her. But otherwise, you know, good little exchange of scene there.
Yeah, I mean, of course, over there, I understand because I saw briefly that arc and in a recap because I stopped watching it. Yeah, you know, because now, you know, because she's a mother now, her guard is a little more down, like, you know, so like she's a little more open and a little more like, you know, just herself, like, you know, as before in like season 2 when she had like her full family, which half her family got killed over the Walking Dead, which is crazy to think about.
No doubt.
Yeah, and I had that same moment. I'm like, is he Glenn, like the son? And then when she say Herschel, I was like, oh my god, that's the dad. But then I forgot that she honored her dad to name the son. You know, and I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, yeah, and I agree with you. Like, if she like this episode made more like a good like emotional thing to like she like sees Ginny as like a daughter, you know, be like a surrogate family for this like little family she's trying to build with, you know, her. So that can make Ginny a lot better and like you know and like make her feel more like okay, like I lost Negan, but like I have another new family that I'm safe with. You know, I kind of agree with what you're saying there, Chuck, because I agree because. You know, when you're dealing with kids, right? Like you don't do the honesty thing. Like kids do have their thoughts and they able to speak out, you know, and 9 out of 10 these shows don't do that. And like the only child like character that done well is really the kid from Daryl Dixon. I mean he has his moments, but like at least like I understand where he's coming from, and like because he's been put in that like Messiah like role, like he's the special kid because you know, and you know it's you know with these kids kind of like come on, like they know how to survive, but like they need like this noble like family like structure that you don't get with these family apocalypse.
No.
You know? So you know. So good job, guys. I really like it. So let's move on here. So you know, after they get captured, so this is stupid. Like, so they get captured here, right? And Maggie, you know, is talking to the generals and all that, and you know, the new Babylon thinks they were like, like especially this chick, I guess the new general or something like that. That's the second hand. Like makes this absurd claim that Maggie and the son was deserting the group, and it's like no, she saw the signal that was literally delivering the car wreck. This is how stupid they really are, as you were saying, Jeff and Chuck. You know, you guys were saying it's like this is stupidity 101. I don't get it, and so like, so you know, despite Armstrong, that's the sheriff from last season, is trying to defend her, right? And like trying to like accommodate the story. Yeah, I seen the Korak being smart and has like these like, you know, codes and stuff like that to like be ahead of us, you know, with the counterattack, whatever. And they just don't do it. You know, Maggie is trying to tell them to postpone the plan, but the general wants to attack now. So just in arrogance and egotistics, like 101, they just like we're going. We want to take over the city, baby. And it's like, are you stupid? Listen to the two people that faced these people from a couple months ago, and yeah, so they're going their death trap, which is fine because I don't think none of us have like Babylon, so we're happy that they're dead. Half of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Armstrong tries to find a middle ground, but you know he doesn't do anything except for one thing. After they you know the other general tells the two guards to like take Maggie and Herschel down to the basement of the boat, we see a good moment where the Armstrong looks at Ginny and like does the look here and like she knows what to do, and so at least we got that to set up like the escape thing, so that's good. So at least we get that. So you know, after that they move forward tonight like as planned, but they get surprised by the car wreck. So frustrated, you know, Maggie asked, she was like, this is another part I should put up, like why she asked them why she was brought along if no one was going to listen to her, and Maggie wants to leave, but the general say she was striking to hand her and Herschel, but leading to Major taking a punch to the face. That was a good moment. At least he punched the trickster, which is good. But they take prisoners, and so pretty much they go to the ferry. So after that, so just wrapping up here. So we got the Korax man, including the Vaseline guy. I forgot his name now. Sorry, Victor. Very common name. Sorry to really remember. So they prepare for their attack. They want to inspire him. So the Korak. This is this part I really like hearing a story about like the good old times was kind of cool. Like the fact that he was trying to tell a story how Victor, how old Negan once fed his enemies with worker meat, which was a really funny and disgusting story to hear. I was like, oh my god, and they started to laugh, which is funny. Really good moment where like Negan almost looks happy when he hears that story. Like when Negan, when Korax starts tell the story, oh, one time we have this group, attacking as usual, typical zombie apocalypse. And then when Negan's like reveal what happens, like, well, this one day we had this really, great meat from this Vegas thing, and he tells his butcher last minute, like, put dead walker meat. And I was like, oh my god, this is disgusting, but so brilliant. And yeah, but the act, the moment that Korak walks away. So that was really cool to see. So you saw, a little bit of Negan coming out with that story. A really great moment with those three characters. I again, like those three, like alone could have been great characters to watch. Vic and Korak and Negan, because I actually like the Korak. I think he's a decent villain, like not a top tier villain, but like I think he's a good side villain. Like he has this like cool quirk. And out of the Walking Dead villains, I have to say, when we get into the bullet attack, it's really cool how he did. Like, yes, Negan like push forward the attack, to set matches, right? But it's also Korak is actually a really important because like he had like the brains to like set up those traps. So like technically, Korak and Negan are really good like pairing. You got the brains, and then you got the physical person, which I really like. I really like that we got a smart villain in the Walking Dead universe because we always have like these physical type villains, and the cult leaders, but we never get like a smart villain. And I kind of like the Korak being that like Walking Dead villain. I kind of wish we focused more on him than the lady, really, because I feel like and plus with him, he has a history with Negan, which I like. Like every time he talks about Negan, it's this weird like sick obsession of this guy that he admires, and at the same time, he's also weird and sick too. And it's I don't know, like I like it, and he I gotta say, I know we kind of nitpick on the first season. Like I will never say negative about the Korak. He was the best villain from last season. I really like when he was the villain until we got the the lady, and I just kind of like I don't need her. I think the Korak works better. But
agree.
Yeah, so I really appreciate like at least we're using Korak for something. So after that fun discussing story, we get the tie up Maggie, Bex, the other peril to get the ferry turned back before it's too late, but there's nothing you can do. That's the Armstrong character, and the lady with Brad at her side steers the boat into the night. But as they come up to the wrecked skyline, they start running into mines that the Korak has built, and we get this really cool scene where the Korak kind of like explains to Negan about how he learned this process from the chemistry teacher. That moment I really liked. That was a really cool moment to see how they were building up. That was a really great, intense, and suspense scene when because the Armstrong noticed the mines. It's like, what is that? And then of course when Korak say boom, and it's like got the boom, and that was really cool. So we saw that. I really like that scene because that was like a really cool build up to like the the attack, which is great. So again, showing the Korak being really good. And so then after that, after the attack, everyone is like freaking out, like they're just losing control as is typical. Maggie is trying to tell Herschel to like get try to jump up to the pipe, as to cut the thing, but he's frozen. It's like, oh, it's all my fault. I fucked you though up. I'm like, dude, you didn't even fuck up anything. Like, you're just captured. You can easily get out of those trains. And like Maggie's trying to calm his boy, but then of course, and then Maggie sees the soldier opening up the door randomly, and it's like, should I save it? And it should just run off. Like, well, fuck you, madam. Like you should have saved those two people. They're people. So, but no. Thankfully, I'm shocked. Ginny did actually one good thing. Ginny came and rescued those two boys. Sorry, those two people. I'm losing my mind now. Maggie and Herschel, which is great. She, cut the chains, and I did appreciate Maggie, at least apologizing to Herschel. I'm sorry what I said before. It was in the moment. I was shocked that you came here, and because that's the mother thing, and at least Herschel got out of it very quickly. At least I appreciate that, because I don't think could have handled that kid being frozen. So yeah, it's fine. It was okay. So at least they get out very quickly. But you get them to focus, which I like. I like that line. Look, I need you to focus now to escape and get focus, because this is important, So luckily he gets the message there. So after they're trying to start lowering the small rescue boat, then that the bombs command by Negan starts falling and killing Charlie, Brad, some other character. So this I guess Charlie was the main leader of the New Babylon Federation. So let me discuss that. So let me stop there. Let's start with you, Chuck. What you thought about that? And was it a really bad way to kill the other female leader off screen? I don't think did you see the death? Because I didn't see it.
No, I didn't. I just felt like once those those zombie bomb things started flying, that it was like, oh man, which I thought was good. I was actually hoping more of them were gonna die. I was like, just knock out a bunch of those people, what I mean? Because I think there's an interesting story to be told if you've got Maggie and Herschel trying to maybe find Negan in the city to help them get out. You don't really need the New Babylon people, you know what I mean? They're not that great side characters.
Yeah.
But obviously they kept some of them alive, and I know that there'll be, I'm sure, more stories in there. But yeah, the plan was bad, but man, Andres, I gotta say, I agree with you on pretty much everything you said about the Croat. In season 1, I thought he was the main villain. It was completely unnecessary to have another villain over him, because he was just fine as the villain. He seemed like he had learned from Negan. He had this past. He was smart. He was doing creepy shit. So I was like, okay, this is a good guy. I also like the idea of him kind of wanting to recruit Negan and say oh, we need a guy like this. This guy could almost be like my general. You know what I mean? And when they're kind of doing the attack and they're out there watching their handiwork, it was interesting to see him interacting, being out there. Then you've got the other lady, the Dama or whatever, who's just stuck in this art room or whatever, and she's just sitting in there. I'm always curious in a world like this. I'm like, why are you following orders from her? What does she have over you that you couldn't take? You know what I mean? Does she have food reserves? Does she have weapons? I mean, if she does, you could just take it from her. I mean, she's just a frail old lady or whatever, unless she's fucking fights like John Wick or some shit, you know what I mean? Which I doubt, so it's just kind of bonkers to me, even someone like the Croat, who seems like he's got very, experimental and interesting ideas. He's over here trying to do his own thing. So I could have easily seen him saying no, I want to recruit someone like Negan to gain strength. Yeah, I mean, it's a horrible plan. Obviously, Maggie needs to get out of there. The lady you said, Andres, that runs into the room, kind of a little bit of a pointless scene just to show that she runs in, looks, it's like, nope. And then she runs out. I'm like, all right, we didn't need you. Thank goodness for y'all's hated gal, Jeannie. She comes in, comes to the rescue. Thankfully, and again, me seeing Herschel freeze, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Get your head out of your ass, bro. You gotta go. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, Maggie's got to work on that with him. I mean, the guy, I don't think there's no father figure. You know what I mean? But kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier, when you've got if you have Maggie embrace Jeannie and then they run into Negan, then it creates this interesting dynamic, right? Where the kids don't want to see anything bad happen to either one of them, even though they may both hate each other. There's a lot of potential for interesting like storylines or whatever, you know what I mean? But I think we're kind of getting through some of the weeds right now of the whatever's going on with the New Babylon people, but the attack was great. The story was stellar. I love that. I love any old Negan stuff that you're bringing back. You know, the Croat, obviously, I feel like, again, kind of poking that Rottweiler, right? Like, man, like, it's almost like saying, like, man, this dog used to be mean as hell, and he chase the postman, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what the Croat's doing. He's getting him jazzed up. He's telling this old hype story, you know. Victor's there listening, like, oh, and then he even doesn't finish the story, right? You know, the Croat's like, you tell it so much better. Finish the story.
Exactly.
Kind of like, you know, classic, right? Like a guy like telling another guy, like, man, tell that classic story about that time with that girl, or on the football field, or the time we drank fucking a case of beer, you know what I mean? And so Negan kind of gives in a little bit, and he's like, yeah, so then, you know, we had this feast, and, you know, so I'm listening. I'm like engaged right now, right? Because really, to me, I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan. So when he's kind of on screen, whatever he's doing, I'm like engaged, right? Especially as the Negan character. So, you know, I was like, all right, we know what happens next. So when he's like, yeah, we fed him this, you know, wasn't venison, it was walker meat. I'm like, oh shit, like what? That's what. And I'm thinking to myself, like, he says they got sick, but I'm like, damn, will that turn you? Like, if you eat walker meat, like, again, my Walking Dead mind is like, what happens to you if you eat that shit? Like, you probably fucking, I'm sure you die, you know what I mean? So it's like worse than Taco Bell eating walkers, you know what I mean?
I will, no offense, I will eat a walker meat over Taco Bell. No offense. I hate Taco Bell. That's a good point. I mean, and I don't care if I get infected and turn into a walker, because we don't know if you take a piece from their blood or their meat. I don't think you turn into one of those. Just be sick.
Hey man, or what the toilet experience is like, man, it might be rough, man, with that walker meat coming out. but otherwise, you know, that was maybe like a highlight for me, like hearing the old Negan story. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. You know, bringing up the sanctuary, you know what I mean, bringing up you know, the saviors is always like cool to me. Old school Negan stuff.
They did that last season. I remember they did like the flashback where like we saw the other fella from the original Walking Dead. I forgot his name because he had that scar on that side of the face, and that was a really cool moment to see. You know, seeing like I like that story of like seeing the before Negan, you know, encounters the our characters from the OG show. Great job, sir. Jeff, what do you thought about the ferry attack? And you know, we're stopping out when you know, Ginny actually did a good thing.
It's just okay. I mean, you know, again, it's you know, it's typical. I mean, there's always going to be some action in all of the Walking Dead spinoff stuff. Like, you know, it has to be there. You know, so like it had to happen. You know, it was okay. You know, it was good seeing Negan, you know, I guess you could say back in action, I guess. But, you know, it was inventive and creative. You know, the using the walkers as weapons and all that was a good, like, you know, a good move, you know, by the Croat, you know. Yeah, I mean, you know, Ginny being useful is good, I guess. I don't know, you know, I mean, it's okay. You know, I don't care. I really don't care with her. I don't care. You know, what they do with her. It really doesn't matter to me. You know, they could just remove her from the show and I'd be fine with it. So you know, that's pretty much it. I mean, you know, it's you know, it's a creative action scene, you know, but nothing too, you know, spectacular or anything like that. And you know, it just moves the episode towards its end, you know, a little bit after that, you know, so that's pretty much it.
Thank you, sir. Just you know, speaking, just last thing during this point, you see a couple people, you know, dead and all that. What are you guys' thoughts about, you know, killing out the New Babylon leader? Like, you know, I know that was during this.
Who cares? No, who cares? I don't care.
I mean, I don't care. I was like kind of shocked that they would just kill her off like that quickly in episode 2. I mean, it was not like, you know, killing a Joel. That was a big deal, and that was part of the game. But you know, and I just really crazy they did that. So I'm happy they killed her. I was like very annoyed that we we kept the other one survive, that annoying chick. I was like, why? Like, I don't.
You know what, Andres? It's kind of good because her death will feel juicy when it happens. You'll be like, ooh, I'm glad she got it. But that leader chick, Jeff's totally right. At this point, we don't care about her. There's no emotional investment. I don't even hate her enough to want her to die. So her dying was just kind of like inconsequential to me. Like, you got to make me really hate you. The other gal has done enough already to make me hate her. You know, she threatened Herschel. She's talking shit to Maggie. You know, she's being a loudmouth. So I'm already like, okay, you can hang out a little bit longer. So maybe your death can be like more satisfying. But the other gal, no, there was no investment. So to me, her dying was just like, you know, what you were. It really wasn't a waste because I didn't care about you anyway. So
I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm just like, again, they're just not taking care of like the whole New Babylon thing. And I mean, again, it's just another group that is so like, they're similar to Negan's group, right? Like, they're just like this like dictatorial group where they want to take control and like start their own system, right? And it's like, we already seen that, so whatever. Yeah, so really good. So I mean, during this time, right, like Negan starts to get like, this part I really like. So get back to the episode. Like, Negan smiles at this accomplishment. Like, he's really getting excited about this action. Like, everyone's having their celebrations, like, yeah. And then he during the before they were building the telescope, which was kind of cool. He sees like immediately Herschel getting on the staple, and it makes him hesitate. And of course, this is another thing. You see Victor seeing that a little bit. He doesn't know why, but like the Korak sees that and he understands what's happening. Which I was like, oh no, it's like something is bad is gonna happen. So he does allow enough time to pass before he commands the last bond to fly against the boat. So like, Herschel is alive, and so pretty much half the people escape from the attack. But the Korak sees this, and second watch, I was like, oh, okay, Korak they like just ratted out Negan about that. And I do agree with you, Chuck, about like why I don't know, I think it's something about her, like it's almost like a mother, like this weird mother's like son relationship they have, which is weird. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's just weird. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Like I mean, from how he like it was Negan, like when he's with Negan, he's more of like a puppy. Like it's like he's just like this like loose puppy is like he's like a leader, like someone to look up to, and that makes sense. But I don't know why he wants to go with this person. So
totally.
Yeah, so it's really weird. So just I'm not going in order here, but like let's get into like the Babylon people survived. They made it into the mainlands, and the few surviving are forced to like flee by the group walkers. And so a couple of them were resting in the Manhattan alley with the hearing some of the engines approaching. So that's kind of like the last thing we see the group, the heroes. And so we see like that the girl that's very annoying, she doesn't have a gun, and she's like very terrified, which is great. So like hopefully she dies, like in a very bad way. And then she tells Maggie to tell them to kind of like hide. We get this really cool mother-son moment where Herschel apologizes and Maggie cries as the swollen Ginny looks on, and the girl then checks to make sure the gun she has is in her backpack, which is kind of weird. I don't know what she's gonna do with that, but we'll see. And because I guess she has her own plans, maybe. So the New Babylon troops listen to Maggie, and as the episode comes to the end, the survivors walk into the tall grass of the Central Park. Now I'm gonna end with the big shock moment of Vic's death. So before the ending happens, we get back to the church where the damn excited about the victory. Two of her men bring in the ferry survivor, this historian person, that Benjamin Peace, who is the New Babylon's historian, to kind of like document the whole stuff and all that. Kind of like the lawgiver from Planet of the Apes, or like someone to like document like this like the New World Order stuff and the apocalypse. And Pierce recognized that the damage somehow who's decided to let Pierce live for now. And like he kind of say that I can be useful for you, just to dominate these things. And so she does. So turning from him, she asked Negan who he was trying to spare on the ferry. So, and then Victor walks in, and when Victor walks in, I was like, oh no, they're gonna kill him. Is he? And it was this scene was also good, like very slow, very intense thing. I don't know what she was gonna do, but I know she was playing around that like pin. I was like, she's gonna send. I don't know, whatever that tool she had. And Negan immediately goes from the glum to worry. Like he had like this like shock. Oh God, I know what's gonna happen. And she, telling them to take whatever she's playing out on him. And the two guards that got the historian out. Like they came to like stop him, stuff like that. He only can watch as them ask Victor to play his violin for them. The musician does as he was told, playing a beautiful, despite his fear, music, very lovely music. And Negan tries to stop what's going to happen, but the half truth telling them that he was starting to save him rather than the kid. But he pushes back down to his chair, and the music stops, which was okay. And then she congratulates Victor for his talent by getting him to smile proudly before jamming a pen. Okay, that was the pen deep into his neck, which was brutal. And he just slid it out very quickly. See the blood gushing out. And a funny moment, I did like this moment when she was done with the pen. She put it with the historian's pocket, which was funny. And yeah, killing him, and Negan saved one life, which then cost another, which was really sad. And he does look at the car ride. It's like, I know it was you who did that. So yeah, that's the end of the episode. Let me start with you, Chuck. What you thought about the end part of this episode? Do you like it? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple of things real quick, and I wanted to bring these up with you guys too, real quick. We talk about the new Babylon leader, and it just occurred to me, when they first are going through on the boat, they start hitting those mines, right? And then this is her genius plan is to do what? Drop anchor and let's stop. We won't be going into the mines anymore. And then like not realizing that they had cannons with like zombie people, which I was like, your plan was horrible, like to just be a sitting duck. So
yeah,
and her death was deserved. Next thing, did you guys, going back to this end scene on this, but did you catch that part when they kind of get off the car and they're going to go in to see the Dama, and the Croat tells Negan, he's like, hey, isn't Lucille thirsty? You know what I mean? Like, because we also kind of glazed over that really awesome scene where he shows, Negan goes to this kind of confession booth, and the Croat's there, and he's like, he shows him Lucille, you know what I mean? I always think of Negan, Lucille, give me strength, and so it's kind of like he kind of almost like rolls his eyes like, ugh, but I think it's because he's like, damn it, I don't want that back in my hands, because that's like his Excalibur, right? That's his lightsaber that belonged to his father. You know what I mean? It's like the weapon of destruction here. So putting that back in his hand again, one more thing that wakes the sleeping dragon. So he ends up toting it around, and there's that walker right outside the Dama's place, and the Croat's like, hey, isn't Lucille thirsty? You know what I mean? And he just walks by. He doesn't use it. We don't see him use Lucille the whole time, in this episode. But yeah, that scene at the end, man, just Stark, again, a character that I liked, in this single episode. Victor grew on me playing the music, talking about Bach and the other musicians he didn't like that his dad wanted him to learn. And big violin fans, so just hearing a violin in this world is cool. But man, a tragic sucky end, to die by her, who I just feel like, again, I need to understand when there's a villain like that, like what is their hold over people? Like how have they, like, I get if the Croat is maybe kind of obsessed with her, or he has like a crush on her or some obsession. So I get it, you know what I mean? Like, but again, you still gotta, like, it's like strength in numbers, you know what I mean? Like Negan, he's like charismatic, you know what I mean? Like he inspired the saviors, at the sanctuary, because he was getting them food and resources, and like he was like kind of going through like being a team and working together, again, kind of like the anti-Rick's group, you know what I mean? But they got something out of it, this lady, I'm like, I need to know more about what she's providing to her followers, because she just seems kind of like lame. You know what I mean? And yeah, Negan knew right away. He sensed it. He sensed by the way she was talking, the way she was walking. You know, at first she's talking about his skill with the violin, and then she starts to say how Bach was not that great, and he's playing Bach. So it's kind of like you know, there's the lead in, right? Like, oh shit, she's gonna make an example out of this guy because she wants Negan to talk. And what do you do in this world? You don't hurt the person, you hurt the people that they care about. That's how you get what you want in this world. So she does that. You know, Negan cries out, but man, boy, at that moment, I was just like, that was his moment to grab Lucille and just swing it at her freaking head, and you know, smash her head, smash the guards, and you know, then tell the Croat, like, look, I'm back in charge, and you know, we'll go from there. But you know, obviously that would be a different direction of a show. But yeah, sad to see Victor's death. You know, I was glad to see that the New Babylon people that were left, that they were listening to Maggie now. Like, okay, great. Like, what needed to happen. Maggie's back in charge of these other idiots. You know what I mean? I was glad to see Jeannie with the gun. You know, the Herschel moment with Maggie is nice to hear him say he loves her. And I think she kind of cries because she's been trying to like connect with him for a while, and she hasn't been able to. So I think she knows, you know, hey, it was nice to hear that. And you know, it was Mother's Day yesterday, right? So tell your mom you love her. Tell your mom you love her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, how could we then we have that scene for Mother's Day? That is true. I never thought about that. Yeah, no, I totally forgot the Lucia thing. I guess he used that to kill the other fraction leader from last episode.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like, I guess he kind of felt like I had to do it. Like you were saying, like, oh, this is my like ex-cavalier. Like I think we already had that scene that last episode. So with this, it was more like, because the car wreck was there and it wasn't like an audience. He's like, I don't want to, like, I'm not doing the thing I usually do. It's like, I see a wander, I kill it. Like he kind of did the thing where like, I will let it go, and it will die either, you know, by human or something else, you know. So I did like that scene. I totally forgot about that scene. Really good scene, just showing how he is not yet to that point of, you know, being his old self, which is really cool. I love the Lucia weapon. It's really good. It's good to see it again. After not seeing it last season. But yeah, so that was really good. But yeah, so Jeff, any thoughts on the wrap up of this episode, sir?
Nah, it just ends. I mean, you know, that's it. That's, you know, there's the major action scene, and then, you know, it pretty much dies off. You know, you get like that long monologue with the Dama before she kills off Victor, you know, and that was no okay scene, you know, but I felt like Negan's emotion was like a little bit of an overreaction, kind of, you know, like, in all honesty, you know, so I didn't really, I thought that was a little bit dumb. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not really that tuned in to like the Maggie Herschel, you know, relationship that much. It's not really a big thing to me. So, you know, it's, you know, it's okay. I mean, you know, it's again, it's very watchable, you know, but yeah, I don't really have a lot else to say about the episode, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm pretty much done with episode 2. That's pretty much it. I think it was an okay episode, and hopefully, you know, the show will continue to get better.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, Chuck, you brought something up with the villain. Like, I think hopefully they get like a central, like a flashback of this dam to like know where she was coming from, because we got that with Daryl in season 2 with the French resistant leader when we got her episode, the opening cold opener before the podcast happened. It was a really good opener actually, where we saw in Paris where everything was noble. She was actually a janitor. She was like a coastal worker, and it was really interesting to, you know, to see that.
At the Louvre, where the place is, you know, the famous museum there. So that was cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then you see like the reason why she became Sharia is because the system failed to like do anything right, and like it didn't allow her husband to survive. And well, he was being stupid, not moving quickly for that worker to him. But but I did feel sorry for her to that moment. I'm like, that's true. Like he, you know, and it made sense why she became a dictator, because it was cool how it caught back when one of the soldiers was rude to her. One of the one of those, the custodians in the post-apocalypse timeline, and she say, don't do that, because she was already in that position, as she knows she feels what happened, and so like that was a really great scene. So I feel like we need that for this villain, because like right now, as you were saying for Chuck, it's like, okay, she's a villain, she wants power, or I mean, she wants to keep her city by herself, but like I don't know, it should be more than that.
Totally.
Yeah.
And two, that the fact that they mentioned, we get that end scene, like you said, under this, of them walking, we find out the survivors of the New Babylon group, Maggie and Jeannie and Herschel, are going into Central Park, which earlier they mentioned is like a no man's land. So, kind of course, setting up that, Negan says that, because, right, I think the Croat mentions like, hey, there's another group, and like, but we're separated by the park. You know what I mean? So, and he's kind of like, okay, like, Negan's one, I think, that says it's a no man's land. So interesting to see them walking into that at the end.
Yeah, I saw briefly the preview, so that's going to be exciting for next week.
Yeah,
it's not going to be a good action scene. If it's full of walkers, that'd be a really great. That's one thing. Or at least they're taking advantage of the locations from New York.
Yeah, finally, right? Finally, New York comes into a season, and 3 episodes in, we get some Central Park.
Yeah, Central Park. Yeah, out of all the places, Central Park is the one. Okay, thank you guys so much. This was a blast. So now we're gonna wrap up the discussion here. Let's do ratings right now. Chuck, let me kind of hear your ratings of this episode. How you rate this one?
What do you guys like to do? Like 1 out of 5, or
we do like 1 out of 10. So
1 out of 10.
Yeah.
This episode was good. It was fun for me. I enjoyed it. I thought that the Negan talk and the zombie cannons, fiery zombie cannons, was pretty unique. And for me, despite the changes that The Walking Dead has gone through, Greg Nicotero and that team, they make some of the best looking walkers I've ever seen. Even we kind of didn't really talk about it either, but like or was it, that might have been the first episode, but what is it where they have the kind of like the walker fight going on in the pit? Was that the last episode?
Yeah, that was the last episode.
Episode, yeah. It's still pretty cool, but yeah, overall for me, I'd give this one probably like I say like a 7.5. Yeah.
Okay. 7 out of 10. That's cool. That's good. Jeff, your rating, sir?
I'll give it a 6.5.
Okay. Yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah, for me, I'll give it like a 7 out of 10. I thought this was a decent episode 2. I mean, it's better than episode 1. And Jeff, you brought up the other shows we were reviewing. I think this was better than Endor season 2, episode 2. Just personally, because that episode was, it was the wedding still, and then we got the famously, I'm saying rock paper scissors, dark side, her light side. That was really awful.
I could have done without that. Let me tell you.
Yeah, exactly. and that like small like group that I don't know, like they were teenagers or like, I mean, it was so bad. I thought that I think for me that was the worst we had in terms of the season like 2, episode 2 of things. The best one we have so far is The Last of Us season 2, episode 2. That was great. Like the infected attacking Jackson, and then of course the death of Joel was a big deal. I mean, if you play the game, I was like, wow, they did it. I would probably put this as I'll put it like maybe like second, because then I'll put like Daredevil season 2, because at least the season episode 2 was kind of good, but not great. So yeah. But thank you guys for really thank you, Chuck, for joining.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So right now I'm gonna let Jeff plugs us out with our content. So let me say thank you everyone for joining us tonight for The Walking Dead season 2 episode 2 live recap / discussion. So now Jeff, it's your turn, sir. And we'll get out of your way.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
No worries.
But let's just get out of here. I'm hungry. So I don't really want to do any plugs tonight. But let's just get out of here. Thanks for coming on, Chuck. We appreciate you joining us. Folks, we appreciate people out there that support the MCU's Bleeding Edge. Those of us who caught us live tonight, very kind of you. We are a podcast. Rate and follow us. And we will see you on Wednesday for The Last of Us episode 5, I think.
Yeah. And I think you are mine.
Take care.
Yep.